joining us. We don't tend to see it as raw as this.
Good evening and welcome.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Morning Docket here at Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber, and thanks for joining us. We have a lot of news to talk about that has unfolded in the course of the past couple of days, so we want to take some time to bring you all up to speed. On Friday, out in Wisconsin, Kenosha shooter Kyle Rittenhouse was found not guilty on all counts for killing 2 people and injuring a third during civil unrest in August of last year. The jury spent a total of 26 hours over the course of 4 days to reach a unanimous decision that Rittenhouse acted in self-defense that night. The judge then granted the defense's motion to dismiss all charges with prejudice, and Rittenhouse now walks a free man with no chance for a retrial. Defense attorneys also identified the infamous jump kick man on Thursday. That is 39-year-old Maurice Freeland. He came forward as the man who kicked Rittenhouse in the head on the night of the shooting. Rittenhouse actually shot at Freeland twice that night, but missed shortly before shooting and killing Anthony Huber. Freeland was willing to testify in exchange for immunity in other cases, but the prosecutor declined that offer. The defense then opted of calling him to the stand in order to preserve his Fifth Amendment privilege, and we're going to be sure to break down the verdict itself and what followed later on, but that's going to be later in the show. Right now, we have to pivot over to Brunswick, Georgia, where the trial involving the death of Ahmaud Arbery is minutes away from closing arguments. Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, William Bryan face charges including malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, all of these charges after Travis McMichael shot and killed Arbery in February of last year. Arbery was out for a reported jog when the McMichaels and Bryan followed him in their trucks and attempted to make an alleged citizen's arrest, suspected that he was behind a string of burglaries in their Satilla Shores neighborhood. All 3 defendants are pleading not guilty across the board. The defense rested on Thursday after Travis McMichael took the stand along with several members of the Satilla Shores neighborhood to discuss their knowledge of local crime around the time the shooting took place. Gregory McMichael nor Bryant took the stand on their own behalf, and the prosecution didn't put on a rebuttal case. What followed on Friday was just a pre-charge conference between attorneys and the judge to discuss jury instructions, which we're going to hear from later today. Now, Kevin Goff took the opportunity on Friday to submit one final mistrial motion, citing civil rights activity outside and inside the courtroom that could influence the trial. Civil rights leaders organized a rally outside the courthouse on Thursday to address Goff's comments about there being too many black pastors in the gallery. Goff went as far as to call the rally a public lynching of the 3 defendants. And as previously ruled on, the judge denied the motion and he kept his reasoning rather brief. But as we await closing arguments, we now go live to Brunswick, Georgia, outside of the Glynn County Courthouse because Law&Crime's own Michel Bryant is right there. Michael, it's great to see you. Good morning. It is going to be quite the day. Walk us through what you're seeing and what you're hearing.
You bet. Thanks, Jesse. You know, the weather was pretty good till I just hooked up with you and it started raining a little bit, so I'm blaming you. Already a little bit of drama this, a little drama this morning. The attorneys arrived about 8:20 with good old-fashioned demonstrative exhibits in tow. We're not sure how long those closing arguments might take, but before we get to that, there was kind of a dangler from last Friday with regard to those jury instructions. Remember, this is a case not just about self-defense, but about the right to a citizen's arrest. And the definition of citizen's arrest is critical in this case. The judge left open the door just a crack for the defense argument. Here's the deal they're fighting about. There is a word immediate in the statute, meaning that if you are apprehending or trying to make a citizen's arrest, it needs to be immediately after whatever the alleged incident that caused probable cause. It can't be a long period of time. That's a problem for the defense because they say, hey, from the very beginning, we've been saying this is the culmination of a number of different events that we were aware of or saw on video, and that the date in question, February 23rd, that triggered all of these events. So it's a problem for the defense if that word immediate stays in the jury instruction. So fighting as they did, the judge sort of said, look, you come up with some legal authority, and we'll take a look at that on Monday and decide the final word on that word. If it is in the instruction, not a good thing for the defense, Jesse. So we expect them to begin at or about 9 o'clock, depending on any other law in motion, including that jury instruction issue. And there's no real time limit. We know the prosecution, Ms. Dunakovsky, she said, I want 4 hours. We're not sure where this is really going to go. Remember, you've got prosecution, 3 defense counsel, then rebuttal. It's going to be at least a long one day for sure, Jesse.
Let's walk through some of these closing arguments, Michael. I mean, what do you anticipate from the defense? Particularly, what do you anticipate from Kevin Goff, who really didn't put on a defense? I mean, he had an opening statement that he reserved at the end after the prosecution put on their case. He had some exhibits that were entered into evidence or that were stipulated to, but didn't call any witnesses. I'm curious what we're going to hear from the defense attorneys in closings, particularly Kevin Goff.
Yeah, well, with Kevin Goff, I'm sure we'll hear a mistrial motion at some point before the day gets too far along. He's that guy, mistrial a day. I think he's going to do what he's done through the course of this case, and that is to distance his guy from the others. William Bryan, of course, was the guy who joined the fray a little bit late. Was it because he knew what was going on? Was it just because, hey, that's interesting, a guy's running through the neighborhood and somebody's going after him in a pickup truck, that being Gregory and Travis McMichael. So I think that distancing will continue. And it's a head-scratcher, Jesse, why they haven't had an official motion to sever, why it wasn't truly done in the form of a motion prior to trial, let alone during the course of trial. It has been mentioned many times by Kevin Goff, but not an official motion to sever. So I think he's going to do an kind of a practical motion in front of this jury saying, my guy is not those guys. No guilt by association. I expect that's going to be his argument.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. We were all anticipating maybe he would make it after the prosecution presented their case, but we didn't hear it. And walk us through Dunikoski's closing. She requested, like you said, 4 hours. Probably not going to get 4 hours, but she'll have she'll have a closing and then a rebuttal closing, I imagine. Walk me through some of the themes that viewers can expect to hear.
Yeah, clearly she's going to be arguing that they had no probable cause because she has to address the citizen's arrest issue, even before you get to the self-defense argument that she's going to have to rebut. So she's going to be looking at the things that happened versus what the defendants say happened to give them probable cause. There was no evidence of any kind that Ahmaud Arbery stole anything, either on the day in question or in the prior visits he made to the subject property that the defendants suggest he was burglarizing. So I think she's going to focus on that, because if she doesn't do that, then the defense is going to have an opening themselves to justify the citizen's arrest and self-defense if the jury gets that far.
So, Brian, Brian, I'm so used to seeing Brian there. Michael, let me ask you this.
I did stay in the Brian Buckmeyer suite last night, so that's as close to Brian as it gets here.
That's fantastic, and I'm jealous. But when we're looking at this, aside from the legal analysis, you're our man on the ground. Walk us through what you're seeing, right? Because this is the closing arguments. This is the day. What is the scene like out there right now? And now I know it's relatively early, but what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about everybody queuing up for what is going to come. Nobody's made any statements or anything at the podium before getting started this morning. Not a surprise. They haven't really been doing that. I was talking to the sheriff, Neil Jump, and I asked him, I said, what, if any, precautions have you taken in anticipation of what may unfold in the next couple of days? Let me give you his verbatim answer when I said, have you brought on new people? Are there others from outside the area that have come in to assist? Are your guys just doing overtime? Here's what he said. Nothing. He would not confirm or deny anything. He did say they expect everything to go smoothly as it has, and they're hoping for no surprises.
All right. Well, we'll wait and see. It should be quite the day. Michael Bryant's going to be out there letting us know what is happening inside the courtroom and outside the courthouse. Michael, thank you so much.
It was the video that shocked the nation. An unarmed black jogger, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, gunned down in broad daylight. The 3-man charge will now stand trial. For live gavel-to-gavel coverage of the trial, subscribe to Law&Crime on YouTube TV today.